All right. Hey, everybody. This is Getting the Lowdown with Lopez, and I'm here with Paul Vato, and I'm super excited. It's been, how long have we known each other now? Not that long, but I feel like I know you from IMDb. I Google.
Right. Well, I think we met on Clubhouse, right?
Yeah. From Neil.
Yeah.
Neil Haley. Have you actually been on his podcast already?
No, not yet. Have you been on it?
No.
Definitely, especially with Clubhouse. It's been very helpful. I mean, I landed an agent almost right away. So it really, it's been crazy with it's been like a whirlwind thing, man. It's been going fast.
I know. And now you have a podcast coming out, correct?
I do. And it's out now. It's called Just Saying. And it's with Snappy Bigman. His name's Christopher Manzo, and he owns Snappy Bigman Coffee. And if you go over to Snappy Bigman, just like it sounds, on YouTube, you can. It's both a video and an audio podcast. As a matter of fact, he just sent me the links for the audio. So we just have 3 episodes up. We're 3 episodes in, and then we're recording another one tomorrow. So now we're kind of hitting our groove. We're recording them, once a week, and then I'm still putting together my podcast, which I'm still trying to come up with a name. I have Celebrity Club inside Clubhouse. So I've been interviewing a few people. And so my plan is to actually put those up as separate from Just Saying, but it'll be kind of on my own. So I'm looking to do what you're doing. I don't know if it'll be this good. I love your background. So I've had some pretty interesting interviews. I interviewed Maz Jobrani, who is an Iranian-American stand-up comedian. We had a great chat. The last one I did was last week, and it was Eric Everhard, who, as the name suggests, is in the adult film industry.
Oh, nice.
Hey, with a name like Everhard, what else are you going to do, right?
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Honestly, I've never had anybody in like the sex industry, and I threw out some ideas for the creator first thing that Clubhouse is doing, where they're going to pick 20 creators, and then they're going to help them fund, their new podcast. And that was kind of like a thing that I threw out to them, that I wanted to have experts on my show, being from like forensic pathologists to lawyers to sex, people in the sex industry. So I'm hoping they call me back, but I'm not, going to hold my breath.
I feel like I could have tried harder on that to submit on that, but I didn't and I think somebody else discouraged me. They're like, no, they're going to pick the people that they're almost like friends with that have been around for a year. Because I only got on the app, a couple, 5 weeks ago, maybe 6 weeks ago. So yeah, I think we're both relatively new, right? Because the app's really been around for a year.
Oh yeah, I just had no idea, actually. I think I've been on since February 8th. So
it definitely
hasn't been that long.
Yeah. No, I think I was there maybe a week before you, so not even that much longer. But it's definitely cured my Facebook and Instagram and Twitter addiction, because I'm never out. I've logged on to Facebook, and it's like I feel there's got to be a joke there somewhere. It's like just like snorting cocaine versus mainlining cocaine. I've never done either, but I feel like if you were to shoot cocaine, that's what Clubhouse is. Like, I can't just, I gotta really take it in, so.
No, I love it. I tell everybody that listens to my podcast, I'm like, it is definitely explicit content and unscripted. So, all bets are off. I got nothing to hide. But I was looking at, the improv stuff that you've been doing. You're from Chicago, Illinois.
I am. I'm originally from, well, I should clarify that, because people that are from actually Chicago get mad at me when I'm like, oh yeah, I'm from Chicago. So I'm from, like, say, West Side suburbs of Aurora. I'm from Waynesville.
Oh, nice. You should think about having like the Illinois, like people that from Illinois come on your podcast. I know isn't Ludacris? Ludacris is from Illinois.
Is Luda? I call him Luda. Yeah, we grew up
Luda,
together.
yeah.
No, but if he is, me, Luda, and Kanye. But I wouldn't doubt it. Chicago has, of course, a lot of very talented people, and me coming out of Chicago. So yeah, and actually, I run a room with Tilda Del Toro, who's a fellow actor. She and I started Salsation together, our Latino improv group in Chicago, and we can touch base on that if you'd like. But she and I run a room on Clubhouse called Chicagoans in Hollywood. So we're kind of gearing it. Now, you don't have to be from Chicago. You just have to maybe have worked with someone from Chicago, or, have had deep Chicago style deep dish pizza. But it's a room for networking and supporting each other. And that's, it's called Chicagoans in Hollywood. It's Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Pacific. And that's kind of, that was kind of, that's what I want to do. I want to interview people from Chicago, but so far we've had people from everywhere. A lot of our listeners that come into the room are from Chicago. And we met, a pretty well-known director that's been in our room and it's kind of been a fan, I guess, of the room, and Pops Bivory, Nathan, who's a director and worked with Molly Shannon, and she was in one of his films. And so we're getting this little group of Chicagoans together just to talk industry and help support each other, and resources for people that are maybe moving to LA.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. So you being in like the improv comedy kind of field, who is your favorite comedian? Because I don't think I've ever even like heard you talk about that.
That's a great question. And well, I mean, I'd almost want you to be a little bit more specific, as in, because I'm also a big fan of stand-up, and I got into improv by mistake because I didn't know the difference between improv and stand-up comedy. But so I have like favorite stand-up comedians, and then I have favorite just. Well, I guess a lot of those also happen to be like famous sitcom comedians.
Okay.
So like Jerry Seinfeld would be up there, or Kevin Hart. But I'm a big fan of Sebastian Maniscalco, who's from Chicago, actually. I'm not just saying that because he's from Chicago. His name is Sebastian Maniscalco. He is hilarious. He's Italian. He's Italian from Chicago, where we don't got no accent. But he is hilarious. I'm a friend and a fan of Steve Byrne, who's half Korean, half Irish.
Oh, he's funny. I love that man. I love that guy.
Yes. But and then when I did a little bit of Matt TV, I was friends with Bobby Lee, and so Bobby Lee has his own podcast, Tiger Belly. So, but these guys are just so strong comedians, like stand-up comedians. They're like, I feel like almost at the top of their game right there. They are hilarious. They are just. They've been doing it long enough where they've crafted their shows. And Maz Jobrani, I've always, I've been a big fan. But when they take the stage, they command the stage, and they do so well. It's rare to see them fail because they're just so good at what they do, and they don't blame the audience. It's they're just very good at their craft. But then, coming from the improv world, Chicago, then I have a lot of I'm a fan of a lot of people that maybe you've never heard of or aren't that famous, but people like I guess everyone's probably heard of Adam McKay, who was the head writer at SNL, but Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, all these people. So I'm sorry, you've heard of a lot of those, but then there's also people like Rich Tallarico, who's a writer on SNL and Mad TV, and he's done a few commercials, but he's like just so talented. He's a brilliant writer. Kevin Dorff, who when he went to write for Conan back in the 90s, we sent him off. We hired a mariachi band to play at his last show at the Second City and send him off to Conan. So people like that, I'm also a big fan of. That most people will be like, well, I've never heard of them. Well, no, because they're writers on these hit TV shows. So it's kind of hard to
write. No, I love to write. I like to kind of be behind the camera more than on the camera, but I don't know how now I'm doing the podcast thing where since being on Clubhouse, it's kind of gotten a name for itself. So now I'm like, let's do some video. I'm like, I like to be like seeing who I'm talking to face now. I don't know. If I went back to just audio, I feel like I don't know. I feel like it wouldn't be the same for some reason.
I hear you. Well, that's what I want to do, but I've just been kind of embarrassed because you see the way I look. I've I've let my hair grow and I haven't cut it. I'm waiting for a big juicy part where they're like, you have to cut it. But I'm also the thing was I got this Uber Eats commercial with Wayne and Garth, which was funny. I didn't even put the two and two together, like Aurora, Illinois, Wayne and Garth. And when we were on the set, somebody asked me, they're like, where are you from? One of the producers or something. And I was like, oh, I'm from Aurora, Illinois. They kind of were up from Aurora. And
so you've met like Mike Myers, Dana Carvey, all of them.
But I have, but years ago, when a friend of mine, an old acquaintance, and I really don't see him anymore, but when Horatio Sands got hired by SNL, he was nice enough to invite us to come to his first show. So he probably didn't think that we'd go, but we're like, yeah, we're going to SNL. Hey, look at all these the Chicano invasion. Like, yeah, yeah, we're going. So like two or three of us actually ended up going to his first show at Saturday Night Live in like 97 or 98. Because we wanted him to be in our first Latino improv group, but obviously he was already a little too famous for us. He was already like Second City. He was already at Second City. And I know that's when I first met like Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray. No, well, Bill Murray I'd met when Del Close passed away, who was our improv guru teacher. I met Bill Murray there at Del's going away party, and then he died like 6 hours later.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So a few of these people I've just met throughout the years. So it was, yeah. And now it's, who else? But Cardi B was there also for the commercial, and Alice Cooper. So it was a Super Bowl. Yeah, it was a Super Bowl commercial, but I was not in that Super Bowl part. But you can see me on YouTube. They actually filmed, it's like a 2.5 hour commercial because they thank every single person that's on the app, every single client that they have, every restaurant in the US. It scrolls on the screen and they thank them for being a client. So yeah. So I've met these guys before, but it's not like I'm their friend, their buddies or anything. I mean, I met Jerry Seinfeld at that SNL after party. I was kind of a smart ass. I did get him to giggle, which I think is something. He was talking to like the bouncer. He was talking. No, I'm sorry. He was talking to like one of his friends outside of the after party, and I looked at the bouncer. I go, make sure you let these two guys in, and he kind of laughed at that. But that's probably been my only interaction with Jerry Seinfeld.
When Moz was talking about him being on Curb Your Enthusiasm and the whole skit about the watch, he took a watch. Oh my God, I was dying because I remember that episode. I love Curb. So I don't even know. Like, it's so cool that all these people, honestly, because in the millionaires, if I ever met Dan Aykroyd, I'd probably piss myself. Like the truth.
Yeah, I do every time I meet him, but he's used to it. He's used to it now. He's like, "Oh, Vato, clean yourself up."
Yeah. My roommate actually thought you were Horatio. I was like, I think you're thinking about the wrong guy.
Yeah. Not all Latinos look alike, but it's funny. Your roommate's not wrong because there were three of us in Chicago that all kind of had this very similar look. We were all like kind of heavy set Latinos. Joe Nunez, Horatio Sands, and myself. And people would always confuse us. I had a guy come up to me, what do we call him? Quarter Mike? Yeah, Quarter Mike, we called him. He was a homeless guy that was always asking for a quarter. So Chicago. And we were doing our show Touched by an Anglo upstairs at the Second City. So I'm getting out of my car and he comes up to me. And if somehow I found parking like right in front of Second City, or it was very convenient, like on a Friday or something like that. So I was like, oh, I was just so happy to get parking. I'm walking out of my car and homeless, Quarter Mike comes up and he's like, oh, brother. He goes, man, we are so proud of you. You make us so proud. Like he goes, your show is so good. And I'm like, I guess because I'm an actor, I'm like, how the heck did he see Touched by an Anglo when you got to buy a ticket for like $15? How does he know how good our show is? And our show is good. It was great. I was like, how the hell? And then I finally realized, I go, oh shit, he thinks I'm Horatio. Because so he was saying, yeah. Okay. So he'd seen Horatio on Saturday Night Live, and he was like, oh, but he was giving me props. He was saying, and then when I did go see, when we went to Horatio's first show, I was, you're at 30 Rock, and we're walking out. Afterwards, everybody walks out, but there's stanchions, with like the velvet ropes, so that so people don't. And then the actors, some of them are really nice. They'll go over and they'll sign autographs, and the audience is kind of off to the side. So as I'm walking out, this little Chilean couple, they're like, "We have to talk to you," and I'm like, "Yeah." I go, "What's up?" They're like, "We are so proud of you. That we're from Chile also." And I was like, "Oh shoot, they think I'm Horatio." Like, what? Okay. So I'm like, no, it's kind of like that mistaken thing where you're like, well, but and they're like, no, seriously. Like, thank you. Will you take a photo with us? Will you give us an autograph? And
You're
I'm like,
yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, no, but they're like, no, please. You can't say no. So I'm like, okay, yes. So I take a photo and I'm about to tell them, like, but I'm not Horatio. So and they're short, they're Chilean. So they're this little cute little couple. And I've got them, in my arms, and we take a photo. So to this day, my photo might be on their mantle at home, and they're like, "Yeah, look, we met Horatio back in '98," and then I autographed something to them, and I remember putting like, "What are your names?" And I wrote their name, and I go, "From not Horatio, love Paul Vato." So I did sign. I let them know who I was, but yeah, so we were always getting kind of confused for each other, and that was always our joke, like, no, you mean the other Latino guy? That was Joe Nunez that did that, or that was Horatio that did that, or
Do
no,
do you not get it so much now that, because you said that you lost like 60 pounds?
me? Yeah, yes, yeah, but so did Horatio. I think last time I saw him,
Okay.
he'd also lost, and he had already grown a beard, so who knows what we're looking at. But yeah, I lost about 60 pounds doing yoga, but also kind of a lifestyle change, eating a little bit better, not drinking all the time, et cetera, because with yoga I really enjoyed it. I started really enjoying it, and it was more like a mental shift where I would say, if I go out tonight, I don't get to do yoga tomorrow. Not, oh, I can't go out tonight because I have to do yoga. So it became more of a I want to do it rather than I have to do it, and it became a little bit easier to then not go out and party tonight so I could do yoga in the morning. Because even if I go out and just have one drink, I can't function the next day.
I was out I went out because I was like celebrating on graduation basically, and putting in, all this time and effort that I was like, yeah, let me go get a drink. And one drink turned into two drinks turned into whatever. And then I had like a 3-day hangover after that. But I'm 33, so even if I drink a couple shots or beers or whatever, I still feel like shit the next day.
Oh, I remember you. Your story about being in the back of the house. So it was Horatio, Joe Nunez, Dave Carter, myself, Jerry Minor, who was also, I think he got hired the same time as Horatio on SNL, or maybe like a few months later, because I think he was a writer first on there and then he got hired. So it was basically like, 3 Latinos and 2 black guys, and we meet these young ladies at a bar. Don't get jealous. We young women, sorry, and they invite us to come back to their place. We're like, yeah. Well, first of all, I think Horatio was like, well, you guys have alcohol? You guys have beer? They're like, well, yeah. You're like, all right, we'll go. Like, it was always like, you guys have alcohol? Yeah, okay, we'll go. So they're like, but we're gonna go get more. We're like, good idea. Like, these are the type of women we want to hang out with. Yeah. Yes, go by. So they're like, okay. So they're like half a block down. They give us the address. They're like, go down the alley, typical Chicago style place. You go down in between the houses, go kind of into the back. You make a left, and then you go up to the second floor. They're like, second floor, not the first. Second floor. The door's open. Walk in. Help yourself to whatever's in the fridge. We're gonna go get more alcohol. We're like, yes. So they run to go get more booze. our gang walks, the half a block or whatever it is to their place. We're like, is this it? We're like, yeah, there's the address. Okay. And she said left, right? Okay. So we walk in, make a left, go up to the second floor, and sure enough, doors open. So we walk in and go right to the fridge. I remember I reached in and I took a giant turkey leg like that you get at the fair. I don't know, maybe it was around Thanksgiving because maybe that's why. Where else would we be in Chicago? I don't know. But I grabbed a big turkey leg and I'm eating that because I was starving. And you wonder how I got up to like 350 pounds. I remember like Horatio and Dave Carter and Jerry, everyone's reaching in. We're all like animals. We're just reaching in, grabbing a beer, and I got a turkey leg. And then a door opens, and it was like one of these kind of long, like Chicago townhouses where it's like 3 bedrooms, all the way up to the living room, each 3 individual bedrooms. So the first door opens, and it's this like petite little girl, young girl, like, 21, maybe college kid,
Okay.
and then she's like, and like closes the door. And then her badass boyfriend, who's
Lord.
not that much bigger than her, like, maybe, she's probably like 5'2", he's probably like 5'4". He opens the door like, what the fuck is going on? And then he sees us and he's like, and then the same thing happens the next door and the next door. And, and it's the same thing. It's always like the girl gets up first, like, what the fuck's going on? And then her boyfriend comes to protect her and then sees, 3 Latinos and 2 black dudes in their kitchen, like robbing them. And they're like, and the only smart one was the last one. I don't think he pushed her out, but he pulled her in and then locked the door. The other 2 were kind of like trying to figure out what to do. Like, can we take him out? We're like, you can't take us. Like, come on, little boys. This is men's work. And I think it was the first girl that was the bravest one. She's like, what are you guys doing? We're like, well, we're waiting for like Michelle. What's her name? Jenny, Michelle. We're like, we're waiting for our friends. They said just to come and wait here and help themselves, help ourselves. They're getting us more booze. And they're like, those people don't live here. And we're like, well, no, they said go down down between the houses, make a left, second floor, back door's unlocked. Of course they live here. They're like, we're the only ones that live here. So I remember I took one last bite of the turkey leg. I go,
you put it back in the fridge?
In the wrong house. And I put it back in the fridge because I thought it'd be funnier that way. I put it back in the fridge. I think the guys just finished drinking their beer. We close the fridge. We walk out like gentlemen, one right after the other. The second, like the last foot left the doorway, the door slams, and it was like those old comedies, like click, 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 like all the doors snapped. And as we're walking out of the back, the girls are walking up the alley, and we're like, where do you live? They're like, you go to the end and you make a right. We're like, you said left. And she's like, oh yeah, I did say left. I meant right. You go to the right. And we're like, oh my God. Like we breaking and entering. Who's gonna believe, six white college kids from DePaul or wherever they were going, or a gang of Latino and black dudes that were already like, close to 30, breaking into someone's home and stealing their chicken and their beer and booze. And Horatio, somebody was like, well, that's good because they're already out of beer. So that party was almost over. So sure enough, we went to the back, went up to the second floor, and the door was open, like they said. And we're like, you guys should consider keeping your doors locked too. Because they're like, no, nothing's going to happen. It's Chicago. Like Jesus. So that's my Horatio and Jerry Minor story.
I love that story. No, I can't wait to be on your podcast and talk about it, because honestly, the whole like 2 days after that, I was like dead. I was like, what happened last night? Like, I think we started at 5, and yeah, it just went on until 2 in the morning when we got back home. And I was like, oh my God. And I don't ever drink. Yeah, I don't ever drink. Like, I used to, definitely. When I've been bartending, I've been bartending off and on forever, but I definitely cut back because I lost like 30 pounds too. So I don't want to go back to how I was, a couple of years back, and then I had flashbacks, PTSD. Like,
oh my goodness.
What? Actually, funny too. My roommate, this girl that he's gonna watch this anyway. This girl that he's been friends with forever. Uh, she, oh my goodness, she did the same thing, but she went into a guy's house that he had Alzheimer's, and she said that she woke up and there's a Mexican lady over him with an old, like the old man, and she had came to, and she was like in this single bed, like where am I? And apparently, it was like his nurse that was over her as well. And the guy was saying, "No, there's a girl in the back. Like there's a girl in the back," and she didn't believe him. And then come to find out there was a girl there. I'm like, oh my goodness, dude, I don't feel so bad now.
No, of course not. Wait, because she went into the wrong house and fell asleep in somebody else's house. Mm-hmm. I love the fact though that the old man who had Alzheimer's is like, no, there's a young girl in back, and the nurse is like, no. Old and you have Alzheimer's. There's no. Oh my God, there's a girl back here. That is.
They're really nice apparently about it. So, oh man, I've heard horror stories. My friend was just telling me that he did that to he went into the wrong house, but she ended up like stabbing him like a bunch of times with the kitchen knife, and he like was messed up for almost like punctured his like lung and stuff. I was like, whoo, I'm glad that never. I'm like, that's why I don't drink like that.
Yeah. Okay, well.
I was gonna ask you about Mad TV because I mean I love that show. I love like all the concept and improving. How much of that show is scripted?
Most of it.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean they were gracious enough to, after you nail it, after you might shoot it once or twice, especially in front of a live audience. They would shoot it, get it, maybe shoot it again for safety. And then they might do another one with some improv, or the second one might be, if they felt like that first one, they got that first one right, then they would let them, improvise some lines and change it up. But, those writers are so quick and so good at what they do. And I think Scott King, I think he was the head writer, or was he a showrunner? But like Scott King, he was such a great writer that they would, if they shot something and it didn't quite work because it was in front of an audience, they would then, huddle, write some new lines right there. So a lot of it was, but they relied on improvisational comedy to do that. But a lot of it was definitely scripted, unlike, like a show like Curb, which I was supposed to be on, but Jeff never brought me in. But maybe he just told me that so I could shut up and stop talking to him.
I feel like that. I'm like very persistent, so I feel like that's helped me through the years, being a persistent person. But then also, I'm like, man, I'm so fucking annoying. Like,
well, you know what? There's a fine line though. When you don't want them to forget, you don't want to be annoying, and that's why I was always very, because when I ran into Jeff, I remember at Second City, and he told me, he goes, oh, I've got this new show coming out. He goes, get me your headshots. I'll put them on my desk and maybe we'll bring you in for something. I was like, great. So every time I'd see him, he'd be like, I still have your headshots. Don't worry. I still have them. I'm like, okay. And now the show came and went, and then it came again. So I know the next time I see him, I'll be the same thing. You still have my headshots, my old black and white headshots from 20 years ago. You still have that on your desk?
Yeah, you never know though when like he'll make like, I don't even know what he's been up to, but I'm sure like if years down or whatever, I mean, you've been successful in a lot of things.
So, but yeah, let's see. So Nicolas Cage movie called The Trust. He and Elijah Wood were in this movie called The Trust. It was their movie, and I just had a small part in it. I was a Spanish laundry worker, and I had a scene with Nicolas. I yell at him in Spanish. I tell him to get off the docks because we're doing some nefarious things back there, and he's an undercover cop. And but then, like what usually happens, I ended up in a montage. So if you hear me, and there's music, but you can still like hear me saying something, but it's basically I'm part of a montage. But they pause it, they'll see it, and I'm on there for maybe 10 seconds or something. So people have sent me screenshots and they're like, is this you? I'm like, yeah, I didn't want to brag about it because I was just on there for like 10 seconds, part of a montage. And and my voice is covered by music almost. You can almost hear like a mumble. So yeah.
I still love it. I still love it. I love that. Awesome. So you got to work with him, and like all these people that you get to work with. Was that during COVID that you did that?
No. That's been over and done with for years. Like
Was
that
it?
came out
Okay.
like 3 years ago or 4 years ago.
Did it? Okay.
So that was kind of like my last film that I was in. So maybe that's why it looks, kind of recent. But and it played in the theaters for about a month, and then of course it went to video, and I still get small checks from them every now and then. I get a check. I'm like, oh, all right, the trust. Thank you.
I actually should have looked at the dates because I think that's your most recent project that's on IMDb. So I just checked it real quick because I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. He doesn't really talk about that, so I just kind of wanted to bring it up.
I've done maybe a few TV shows after that, but I can't remember what it was. I know we did a German television show, a travel show.
Have you been to Germany?
Not yet, but I want to go so bad.
I loved it there. Yeah, I went this past 2019, November, December. But I love Europe. I keep telling myself if this thing doesn't work out with Spotify, or I just got my rejection letter from SiriusXM. So honestly, if I don't move to California, if I don't keep doing this podcasting, I think I'm gonna kind of do a backpacking trip through Europe and see what happens.
Because I wanted to do a travel show, and a video like a nice, funny travel show where we would film everything. And my problem is I think I have to just find a decent editor, just because I love filming and I love doing this, but then when it comes to editing, it's like, oh, even though it's not even that hard now, and I know how to do it, but it takes me a little bit longer, but all the short stuff that I put up on YouTube when YouTube first started, I learned how to edit, and just iMovie, nothing fancy, but it worked.
I've done StreamYard for the past 2 episodes that I came out with, but I haven't done the audio, because with Zoom you get audio, you get the video, and then you get another playback one. So we'll see. I'm just kind of looking out there and see what I can do. Being on Clubhouse, everyone's been throwing out some great advice. I love Clubhouse. I just haven't been on this whole week because of school and everything. Just getting Thursday night, just what the heck?
Yeah, I know. I talked to you on Friday. Friday morning. Yeah. You're blushing. Okay. Maybe you do remember.
God. I do kind of remember. That's why I was like, didn't I talk to you twice? Or was it only once?
I think it was just, it was Friday early in the morning.
Okay.
Or maybe early in the morning for you. Maybe it was still Thursday night for me. I just remember that it was the opening line was, and the thing is, I hadn't saved your number, so I thought it was you, but I wasn't 100% sure. But then I saw the number and I was like, oh yeah, that's Texas. Okay. So then I knew it was you, but you're like, let me in. I'm in the back door. Let me in. But I was worried. I was like, do you need me to call anyone? Should I?
No.
Your numbers or anyone? And then when you left, when we said our goodbyes, I was like, well, I hope you're not sleeping out in the back of your yard. I could never get in, so I just slept back here.
No. Oh my gosh, you're so nice though. Thank you so much just for even coming on here and talking to me. I've been really excited. Yeah, I've been really excited, and I'll definitely let you know when this episode drops, and you tell me all you're doing with your podcast, and I'll go. Actually, when are you gonna have your next Clubhouse room?
Well, we with Tilda Del Toro, again, my co-host, she and I host Chicagoans in Hollywood, and that's every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific on Clubhouse and Celebrity Club. So if you find me, just add me, and then you go to the bottom and add my club Celebrity. That's every Wednesday at 7 p.m. And then after that at 9 p.m. With Hapso Mohammed, she and I co-host, but she's doing most of the work. I'm just we just did it in Celebrity because there's a lot of we have about 1,400 members now, which is nice. So people get notified when the room starts. So with HABSO, we do a room called uh, making mental health a global priority, breaking the stigma. So it's something that she's passionate about, and I thought
I haven't been on that room.
It's also Wednesday at 9 p.m. Pacific. So I know it gets kind of late for people on the East Coast, but it's a great room, and it's just about, supporting each other. It's a very safe space. It's become a lot of people from Somalia, just because, Habso's from Somalia. She was a refugee, and she had such an interesting story. She's a teacher, but she grew up like in a refugee camp when she was a child. And mental health is something that really speaks to her. But I feel like the Somali community is like a lot of other minority communities that, you don't talk about mental health growing up. I know that me as a Latino that, oh, you're feeling down. Well, here, let me beat you and make you feel a little bit better. I'll give you something to feel down about, which is probably not the smartest thing to do. So please don't take that advice. But, it's like, I was born when my dad was already like in his 40s. So he was a much older man than all the other kids' fathers. So it's, and he grew up, on a farm. He probably went to finish 6th grade, and that was about it. But he was very smart. He worked for the U.S. government. He worked for the Department of Energy. He worked for Clark Equipment. He'd worked his way up. But mental health isn't something that's a priority, I think, with a lot of minorities. So we're just trying to break that stigma and say, so we're getting a lot of interesting people from all over the world. It's and the room, of course, is open to everybody, and everybody shares. And we're not professionals, so we're not giving advice, but we are. We've had professionals in the room that are, doctors and psychiatrists and psychologists, and Ernie G, who we interviewed in Chicago and in Hollywood, is a motivational stand-up comedian, and he's funny. I've known him for maybe over 20 years, and he talks to a lot of students, and a lot of it has to do with mental health. He's talked to over 500,000 people as far as motivating and making them feel secure about themselves, and so Ernie G is another one that I also that recorded one of our shows.
Just before we go, I definitely understand like the whole thing about like Mexican families and mental health, because my mom was always like, what do you have to be sad about? You really have a food and blah blah blah. But I had my ex-boyfriend is clinically bipolar, so just like kind of dealing with that every day. I started noticing things that like, because I've always been a pretty happy person, but I've also, my father was in prison for a long time. My mom had me when she was 16 years old. Like, there's a lot of things in my life that haven't been so great, but I've honestly never felt so like comfortable in like my own skin and just like kind of proud of myself recently. So it's like, it's super cool how like people come around. But I mean, I think about, just the other night when that happened, I'm like, oh my God, that's like old Liz again. Like, you're going to put her back. We're not going to have her out anymore. But it was a good night, actually. I mean, I had a great time.
As long as you had a great time, I think that's fantastic.
That just needs to happen not even every so often, maybe once, 10 years or something.
You need to blow off some steam every now and then.
Yeah. But I want to thank you so much again, and I definitely come and check your the room out because it sounds really interesting. And I don't know. I'm excited.
I'm very, I'm very proud of you because I feel like I've seen your growth on Clubhouse from just asking questions to all of a sudden I walk into a room and there you are moderating. I'm like, okay, híjole, like look at this. Look who's in charge now, and then of course you ignore me, you don't bring me up or anything. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, whatever. When I was with Tiffany Haddish asking her questions, I definitely was like, oh, Paul, because we were talking about Angela Johnson, because she was on that TV and just she's hilarious. I love her so much. But I definitely, you make me laugh, and you're awesome. Got me on there with Moz too. I got to ask some questions and stuff. So I'm so happy you came into my life.
You know what? Likewise, and I think this is just the beginning So thank you for having me, and thank you for recognizing the genius in me. Okay, that's horrible. But thank you. It's been an honor and a pleasure.
But thank you so much, Paul. And where can everybody find your ID and all that? Where can they find you?
You know what? The easiest way is just to go to paulvato.com. Paul, V as in Victor, A, T as in Tom, O. paulvato.com. And then everything is on there. My headshot, so if you want to hire me for acting, some acting commercials that I did. What else? My Instagram, my everything is there. And it's usually Paul Vato or Vato Cigars across all social media. And I did just start a BitClout. I don't know if you're familiar with BitClout. It's something else that I have to worry about now. And I got the word comedian. So at comedian on BitClout, you can find me and buy my stock, buy my BitClout.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations on that too.
Thank you. You're gonna have to help me with my TikTok though. I have about 6 or 7 followers. So
I would love to help you out with your TikTok.
Thank you.
No, definitely. I'll help you with anything that you need. And once again, thank you so much. And everybody go follow Paul. And it was an honor and a pleasure. And I'll see you in the clubhouse room.
I'll see you in Clubhouse in 5 minutes. Bye.
Thanks for listening, everybody. So this month has been crazy. I graduated finally. And I know I've been really behind on my podcast, but I promise that I will get back on it. I'm actually moving to San Diego, California, June 26th, so please wish me luck. Also, I have to thank Clubhouse for giving me the opportunity to meet Paul and Neil and everybody I've met. They've been so helpful. And I have to give a big shout out to TNLFashionsBoutique.com, where you can find the trendiest accessories and cosmetics, from sunglasses to health and self-care products. They even have a true loyalty rewards program with image and beauty consultants that can chat with you online. Use promo code DownWithLopez for 10% off, or go to www.tnlfashionsboutique.com/discount/downwithlopez. And don't forget to follow them on Instagram at TNL Fashions Boutique. And please follow me, everybody, on Instagram. I have 2. My podcast one is Down with Lopez, and my personal Instagram is LIZ_LOWPEZ_. And I'm on every social media, YouTube, Facebook, you name it, I got it. If you have a question, please email me at lizetteladonna1987@gmail.com. Next week, please stay tuned. I do not want you to miss this. I have Miss Dr. Monique Rubio. She's going to be the 3rd female on my segment for the Female Empowerment Month, which was back in February. I know people... So please cut me some slack. I am ready to finish season 1 of Getting the Lowdown with Lopez. I have some great guests, great speakers, interesting topics. Next week, Dr. Monique Rubio will be talking to y'all about female and male infertility and how she has many holistic views and tips for the listeners out there. Stay tuned, please. Season 2 is going to be killer. Thanks, everybody.